Welcome back to DM-Nastics, the gym for dungeon masters to work out their minds. I'm one of your hosts, DM Neil, aka Jote Maniac.
And it's me, your other host, DM Celeste, aka Sea Witch.
Oh, it's been far too long since we have been on the microphone. You probably don't know that, listener, or you do. I mean, you do now, so.
You've seen beneath the kilt. It's been a long time.
Oh, but that means we're going to go straight into condition training.
Ooh.
So conditioning is a thing, and then I saw online that like conditioning training, and that sounds terrible. I don't like two words with ing at the end.
Condition
together.
Training.
So I changed it.
Yeah, that's rough.
Condition training.
Nice.
Because what are we going to do today, Celeste?
We're going to look at an article. Yay! And this article is from CBR.com, written by Rebecca Crum, and the 10 most annoying conditions in Dungeons and Dragons.
I like it. Also, I feel like I would totally make a dwarf character named Crumb.
Crumb? Yeah, with it's K-R. I'm like, that's good. That's a good fantasy name. Also, Rebecca is spelled with a K. Good name. This is a good dwarven name, Rebecca.
I hope you find that to be a compliment.
Yes. I mean, name your next dwarf character, Rebecca Crumb. The dwarves are cool. Sorry, Rebecca, if you don't like dwarves.
So we'll go in order, but I think at the end, we will definitely need to answer for ourselves what we feel like is the most annoying. And I also feel like this is a really interesting way to look at it, because what we feel like is most annoying as a DM versus a player. Yeah. Because I know what the answer is. I know what the answer is for you.
I know exactly what I'm going to say is the worst thing. I know worst the answer character class for me, so. Interaction with a condition.
Yep. Okay. Yep. And I actually don't know if it's on. Oh, wait. Okay. We'll get there. Carts and horses and things.
We'll get there.
Okay. We'll get there. So number 10 to kick us off. Blinded adds complications.
Yes.
So they're putting blinded a little bit lower.
Okay. So yeah,
how do you feel?
I think blinded, I mean, it's rough. It's super rough. And I like the point that why they put it on this list is not just because of the normal penalties. Like, obviously, you have disadvantage, like, to hit things because you can't see well, but also the fact that you can't target creatures you can't see in a lot of spells. So I think that's like the secret gotcha with blinded. I wouldn't say it's so annoying as a DM, because like that's a really powerful thing to do to your players and potentially shut down your spellcasters, but it is definitely a condition that is made to annoy spellcasting characters. Because like fighters, they still get like 4 attacks, right? So inevitably, even if you're rolling at disadvantage, one of those is probably still going to hit. But if you just literally can't target someone to cast their spell, like it's a no start from the beginning.
Yeah. And I think as a DM, like my leaning is like, if I have this and I'm using it as part of a stat block, I think my go-to is to blind the fighter or the melee because they're right there.
Yeah.
And the idea that, I'll put them at disadvantage. I guess it also makes me feel bad if I were to do it to the wizard at that point, but it's definitely the more effective choice.
Yeah. Well, and then also, like, wizards or other casters are more likely to have worse constitution scores, and almost all blinded condition-based effects require a con save. So you're more likely to blind the spellcasters. Maybe I just play too nasty. I go after my spellcasters.
We'd like to take this moment to apologize to all spellcasters
sorry
for what we may have done with this conversation. Okay. Well, what about deafened?
Deafened.
Because deafened has some debated effects.
Yeah.
Which I'm really interested to see. Yeah.
Yeah, so, deafened condition simply states the character fails any checks reliant on hearing. Yeah. This is, I get why this is annoying, because it is very unclear. Because so much in D&D isn't keyed to hearing. Like, I can think of maybe 3 or 4 specific monsters that, like, because if you have blind sight, for instance, or, like, the bat has echolocation, right? Like, so if you can't hear, you effectively do blind these characters by having them be deafened. But otherwise, most characters, especially in the heat of combat, don't really need to be able to hear, right? It's happening so fast. And
yeah,
and
it's interesting because you start to get into, and I know this is where the debates are going to come from. Like if you've ever been, and that's an interesting thing because you also have to like process the idea of like, okay, have I ever lost my hearing for a shorter amount of time?
Yeah.
And so how does that negatively affect
you?
Well, and I know there's a couple things. Is one, most people like acute deafness, is it from a loud sound or something like that? You're super dizzy. You're very disoriented.
Yeah. You lose a sense of balance. Yeah.
Yeah, those verbal components would technically be more difficult because you don't have that feedback of hearing, or you're only going to hear yourself in a different way. You would still probably be able to. Oh man, see, this is why I don't like conversations in D&D when I try and equate it to reality, because the question would be like, do I still hear myself? Because the reason each person feels like they sound different when they talk versus a recording is because of the vibrations internally. That's why you sound in your inner ear. So that's why you sound different to you than when you listen to a recording of yourself. Yeah. So does that still apply? Do I still hear myself, but now I sound different?
Does that affect your spells? So I think as written, you can still cast spells with verbal components, no problem. But like, if that should be the case, I think is interesting. This is something I've wrestled with, like, while designing Tales of the Valiant, for like trying to think of a way to do this, because it would be nice if there was like a rendered senseless, right, kind of condition, as opposed to like saying blinded versus deafened. Like if there was something, messed with your head, like in that way, your senses were all shut down at once. I feel like that might be a more streamlined way to like deal with this kind of stuff, because deafened and blinded right now, definitely. And there's obviously some like accessibility issues and some language issues too around this. So it's an interesting one. It's good to put on the list because it's definitely up for interpretation, and I can see how that would be annoying for both DMs and players.
Yeah, because I mean, I would probably lean towards imposing disadvantage in more scenarios than presented.
Yeah,
because the presentation is automatically fail if you need your ears, is basically how
it's like, how
I'm like, well,
that's up for interpretation. Yeah,
I'd probably give it a go.
Yeah, I probably on perception check, like if somebody's sneaking up behind you and you can't hear them, like I'd probably give that person, make them surprised like when they were attacked. Yeah.
Yep. What is our next one?
Grappled. So number 8, grappled keeps creatures in place. Grappled is one of the most common conditions D&D characters face, especially in melee, condition when one grabs another and holds them in place. Yeah, the grappled creature loses all movement speed, including any bonuses. Yeah.
I mean, so I'm haunted by grapple. So like, let's just get this we'll get this part out of the way, and then we can move to grapple in 5e. I'm haunted by grapple from previous editions.
Yes.
I can literally see in my head the the matrices of if this then that, like the like flow chart, multi-page flow chart of grappling. And so I have a tendency not to do this because of that, which it's not as difficult in 5e by any stretch of the imagination, but there is just I am haunted by that. So I don't grapple very often for these reasons.
Yeah, well, and then here's the trick. Here's the trick why this is so annoying, because when you're grappled, both people involved in the grapple have 0 feet. But if you use an action to like pin somebody that you have grappled, that target becomes restrained and you no longer become grappled, and then you can move around with that restrained creature freely on the battlefield. There's no way around that. So like this series of interactions that you have to do to make this grappling thing effective is banana pants. So definitely annoying, hard to understand. And also when you do finally, you go down this route and you make a wrestler character and you abuse this rule, because I've never done that, wink, GMs just want to cry like when you do this.
Imagine in so this plays out in 2 rounds.
Yes.
Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I've grappled. Blah, 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 blah. Okay, I've restrained. Now at this point, I have 2 more things that I can do.
Yes.
And I'm going to say that whoever is doing this has the availability of dashing on their bonus action.
Oh God.
So now I've just picked up whatever I've grappled, and I've ran 60 to 80 feet away.
Yep.
On my turn.
Yep. And then you drop them off a cliff.
I was going to say go full Mario 64 with the penguin and just chuck them right off the cliff. That's a deep...
Just drop them off the cliff because they fall. They fall automatically. They don't get a save as written, or I score is written. So
yeah, because they were restrained.
Yep. I built my character Tank, Tank, my big old Warforged. Nice. He was a grappler, did 0 damage with his body, but like just dropping people off of things, throwing people. Yeah. So yeah, grappled. And that is an annoying little secret that I think people forget. Like when you grapple someone, you also have 0 speed because you are both like sitting there like a pretzel knot. So yeah, that's one of those tricky rules that I totally agree with. That's a secret annoyance.
That one might need to be further down the list. But
yeah,
what is further down the list is petrified is inconvenient but protective.
Mm-hmm.
Someone really was looking for the silver lining there.
Yeah. Because you're petrified. You're turning to stone. You fail saves. Attacks against you have advantage. You can be destroyed, like, in forever. And that's all pretty freaking bad. And petrified, like, every time it comes up, you have to pass. Like, they give you 2 or 3 opportunities usually to, like, save yourself because this is how bad it is, right? You have to fail a lot of checks or a lot of saves to, like, really truly be petrified in most cases. So yeah, I don't know if it's annoying that there's a silver lining part, but...
Well, yeah, so the theory here is that you're resistant to all types of damage, to all damage types, and immune to poison and disease.
Because basically you become an object, so...
Yeah, what I find interesting with that is the player that wants to use that as a way to cure a poison or a disease.
Oh, that's
and would I let them?
That's interesting. I never thought about that. So, like, if they already have a poison or disease, and then they petrify themselves,
they don't have any other method by which to resolve that. So you do that. I mean, and then from there you have 2 options. 1, you let them
heal it.
Yeah, or 2. You've stopped it.
Yeah, you put them in like a stasis.
So it's not going to... It wouldn't progress, and you would go get whatever solution that is. Because that could...
I love that.
You could also do it for an NPC. I think that'd be probably the best.
Yeah, that's a cool plot point. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. It's like, whoa, what a cool story that is. And, it's the same thing like, when we hear about cryogenic freezing, right? It's like, oh no, like I'm dying of this terminal disease. I'm going to freeze myself because in the future we'll have a cure. Like that's totally wild. I have never thought of using petrify like that, but what a cool.
Depending on how invested your players are with this NPC, you could also have it be like a really big moment.
Yeah.
Because the person you could have the PCs be there while the NPC chooses. Yeah.
Like Han getting dipped in carbonite. That was such a big moment. Like dipping him in, like, and he's like turning to, oh man.
And then
so
one of your PCs walks up and is like, I love you. And then the NPC's like, I know. And they get petrified.
Oh man. Do it in your games, everyone, and tell us about it, please.
Yeah. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, that's how I would rule that. I wouldn't rule like auto fix. I would rule stasis on that.
Now that said, depending on the level of your party, that's not just petrified is not just inconvenient. That's awful.
That's awful.
Because you're not doing anything during combat, and how much effort do they need to put in after combat? So me personally, I don't know about 7. I mean, it definitely has some upsides, and we've figured out a narrative way to use it. Yeah. But in terms of actual in combat,
hey, I just looked at petrified. Haha. It says this. The creature is immune to poison and disease, although a poison or disease already in its system is suspended, not neutralized. That's actually baked into the rule. I've never seen that before.
Well, there we go. Perfect.
Narrative
and all that.
I cannot think what heals you from petrified. Is it greater restoration? Sorry, everybody. I'm typing. I'm rapidly looking at rules. Can greater restoration fix you?
My answer is I know that flesh or stone to flesh used to. I don't know if that's a thing.
Nope, it's not. It's greater restoration does it. That's the lowest level spell you could do. It's 5th level. So you'd have to be at least like a 9th or 10th level caster probably to have this. Whew.
All right. Now everyone can listen to my super mechanical keyboard.
We both have tippy-tappy keyboard. Sorry.
Yeah.
Wow, so it's specifically in greater restorations is one effect that charmed or petrified the target. Yeah.
Yeah, which is interesting because like a Medusa is a CR6. So
yeah,
you could have a Medusa be what they go up against without without having access to those spells.
Wow, yeah, because I mean Medusa, CR6, you're going to be fighting that. You could as early as level 3 or 4. Whoa.
Okay.
Never realized how scary that
No.
is. What?
Why? Because I can throw a basilisk at you who is CR3. And it specifically states in there, on a failure, creature is petrified until freed by the greater restoration spell or other magic.
That's so scary.
CR3!
That's so
CR3.
Scary. Whoa. I don't
this should probably be a little lower on the list.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Though honestly, I don't think I've ever had somebody be petrified. Like they've always, made the last roll but like, whoa. Okay. This is a good one. This is good. Rebecca, you're nailing these. Loving it.
Charmed turns friends against each other.
Charmed is annoying.
It is. It's also not. I mean, it's tough.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough thematically. It's problematic. And honestly, I don't use it anymore at my table. Unless my players can use it, but none of my NPCs ever do, because inevitably it just makes people feel bad. They're like, I'm sorry, I have to do what with my character? Like, no, my character would never do that. I'm like, well, you failed your save. And they're like, well, and it's like, I totally understand why you're so frustrated, but like that is such a huge pain point. I don't think anybody is ever like okay with this part of the game, like their character being charmed or, falling to a suggestion spell or whatever. But
yeah, anymore I've because of that kind of same argument, which I totally get the argument. I really, really do. And I haven't used it in a long time. And like the last times I did use it, I almost lean towards almost a comedic premise that is charmed. Like I do understand you're right. You're looking your adventuring party dead in the eye as you slash across them, that kind of thing. Well, then I just have whoever charmed the PC, make them do something menial. Have them wander over and like, hey, I could use a refreshment on my drink. Absolutely, my new friend. And then like they just are wandering off and filling up a drink cup rather than trying to flip it.
And to be clear, the charmed condition doesn't actually force you to do anything. It means you just can't attack the charmer or the target or target the charmer. That's basically it. And then the charmer has advantage on ability checks. So, and I think a lot of time this adds to the stress of it, because GMs might get confused that this is more like a suggestion where it's like actual mind control or not. And like, I can imagine that just being a whole problem.
Yeah.
That's a good pick. It is very annoying.
What's number 5?
Oh, yes. Stunned puts action on pause. This sucks. Being stunned. Yeah. Being stunned is terrible. Anybody who uses stunned, it just shut it down. Because you can't move, you can't speak. Because you're also incapacitated, so you can't take reactions or actions. So you're just like locked down.
Oh, yeah. So I think my thing is, so I used it literally at my last home game. It was just part of it. And it was a bigger battle. It was a bigger boss, and there were all kinds of special things that I could do. And it ended up hitting one character, and they rolled, and they got it for 3 rounds. And so, like, they could save each round, but at the same time, like, I don't know that I would let that happen again, in the sense that if it works, I'll take that round from you. But I don't think I feel comfortable anymore taking like more than one round.
More than one. Because, losing 1 round in combat, because honestly, combats typically only last 3 rounds. So, like, if you lose, you roll, and that's 3 rounds, like a stun, you could potentially do nothing for the entire fight. Like, that just feels very bad. And I think this is something that we're starting to see in like the 1 D&D or the D&D 2024 playtests, is they're starting to phase out the stun condition for exactly this reason.
Well, I think there's like just more interesting things you can do, because it's effective. Don't get it twisted.
Oh, yeah.
It's really, really effective. But I feel like I should need to trade resources for that every round. Yeah. Like if it were a stun as a caster, I would want it to be a concentration.
Yeah.
To even get the chance at another round. If it's a stun effect, I would want to have to spend like my bonus action to keep them stunned, or another action as part of another action, or something like that. Whereas this monster, Lich Empress from Steamforged Games, whole bunch of cinematic options, basically layer actions. One of the most interesting ones was, if you fail, I take away for right now your strongest ability.
Ooh.
So the rogue failed. You don't have sneak attack anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah. So you can still do all these things, but this
seriously hamper a character without giving them nothing to do. Right.
Then afterwards, then it was all done. And I was like, wait, because you get it back, because once the creature dies, you get it back. So it's not like it doesn't require additional magic or anything. But I was like, wait, in hindsight, should I have had it? Should I have had sneak attack after that?
To you?
No.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Well, and I actually ended up doing the rogue and the fighter. So I took sneak attack and action surge.
Ooh.
I was like, wait a minute. Does that mean I should have done that? But it was still really bad. Two of them went down. The rest were super close. So like it worked out perfectly in terms of like how I would want a battle to go. But yeah, stunned, I would say 1 round at most, because you've completely incapacitated them to the point where if I do anything, if it's an area effect, if it's a minion that attack, everything is going to hit real hard.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Also, frightened is intimidation on steroids. I hate fear.
Number 4.
It's the worst. It's the worst.
What I don't like about the frightened condition and fear and stuff is that it's not standardized. So like having the frightened condition doesn't mean the same thing, doesn't create the exact same effects as if you are frightened by like some creature abilities or like the fear spell. It's all a little bit different. So every time like you have to say you're afraid or you're frightened, you have to specify exactly what it is. And then there's always confusion around it. So that's what I find the most annoying about it.
Yeah. In any version where you run away.
Yeah. You have to spend your whole turn running away. It's like, oh, God.
Well, because everything is doubled. So every turn I spend running, I then have to, on the back end of that, spend running back. Yeah.
And that's like usually from the fear effects you see. Like, because the frightened condition itself is only disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls while you can see the source of your fear and you can't willingly move closer. But like almost every, like the dragon's, frightening aura or whatever it is, coupled. Like makes you run. Just like until you die, you have to run away. And it's obnoxious. It also sucks when you're like, I'm playing a bold and magnificent paladin who fears nothing. And then you're like, oh, failed to save. You're frightened. And you're like, that feels so wrong for my character, but okay.
I run through the next available door that we haven't been through yet in the dungeon, and I have now aggroed many other things. Leroy Jenkins! Yeah, it's just, it's bad. It's bad. I don't like it. Nope. Moving on.
That's annoying. But this one, the next one. Oh, the next one.
Paralyzed makes things critical.
Yes. That, especially when compared with stunned, or like the fact that when you're paralyzed, every attack against you is a critical hit, seems really rough. It seems just like a big escalation.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what that. I mean, I guess if I'm stunned, in theory, I would still.
Oh, like you're still kind of staggering around, I guess.
Yeah,
paralyzed, you're like frozen still.
Yeah, but in the same way, then like, why wouldn't I, as a petrified, take criticals? I mean, resist. Yeah. I mean, I guess at that point, I should just take normal damage because I'd be resistant, but then I should be taking criticals. So
that's rough.
It's rough on both ends. I mean, like if they could manage to paralyze a monster that I have and then just land, because unless they line it up and it's a plan, then I'd probably be okay with it. But you have two classes that really, really want that critical, because they know what they can do with it, and that would be Paladin and Rogue. Because then I'll just dump as much as I can into spite. Yeah, that's probably true too, but I meant smite. But then sneak attack, what if you timed it?
So much dice, potentially.
Yeah, because if you think, again, your typical fighter rogue. So then I did sneak attack on my turn, commander strikes, and I'm doing sneak attack with an additional 2d8 on top of my, 10d6?
Yeah. And I mean, you're paralyzed, so attack rolls automatically have advantage against you. And it's automatically a critical hit. So it's just like, so sneak attack, it's like your best friend.
Well, you're guaranteed sneak attack no matter what, because you already have advantage.
Yep. That's rough. Yeah. That's rough. Yeah, that's how you one shot a barbarian or whatever. If they're paralyzed, then bam, dead.
Okay. Scenarios that we can use this.
Yes.
As a DM are scenarios where the player doesn't want to play your character anymore.
Yeah, that's a great, yes.
They come up, and so I've mentioned it before, but I had one where a player didn't want to play their character anymore. In the next session, I had already planned on bandits like popping into their room while they were asleep. So I had that conversation with the player, and basically to like kick things off, the bandits kill that player because they're getting basically free crits on the person who's asleep. If you wanted kind of a big out for someone, this could be a big and very dark out for someone. This could be a way that it happens. Whatever monster or NPC you have paralyzes them and then kills them. Because they will land a critical. They just will.
Yep.
Whoa.
Yeah. Whoa. Okay. This next one here, all right. So it's 2. Unconscious as a harbinger of worse fates. I'm like, yes, but I wouldn't say that's annoying because, this is baked in. It's like a pre-death phase that you can be in. So I think it's actually pretty cool that we have something in the way of auto death. So I'm fine. And unconscious shares similar effects as paralyzed. Yeah, I mean, I don't think unconscious is annoying.
How would I make someone unconscious without having just dropped all their hit points? Are there ways? No, because most spell effects.
There's no way to just make someone unconscious.
Well, then, I wouldn't say that was necessarily. I mean, there could be annoying ways to get there. But I don't think it's inherently annoying because I've gone through all your hit points to get there.
Yeah.
How I did that could certainly be annoying. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
How you managed to do it could be annoying. To me, the DM could be annoying. But the condition itself, like you said, is that stopgap between
true death.
I had a player get close though because they went unconscious and they rolled a death save and they rolled a 1.
Oh boy.
So things got interesting for sure. Yeah.
Well, and unconscious does share the same thing. The cruelty as paralyzed, where a creature within 5 feet that hits you, it's automatically a critical hit. And if you take a critical hit while you're unconscious, that counts as 2 death saving throws.
Yeah.
So if somebody hits you, so if your DM is mean, then this could be very annoying, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, you could because you could have people go down in an area of effect and it's still going to happen, sort of thing. But yeah, I don't know that I would put it
and the annoying list, especially at number 2.
Yeah, if I would, it certainly wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
Now, I'm not going to lie. Number 1 is kind of true.
Yes.
Exhaustion causes the most impairments.
Yes. Ugh. Exhaustion is a problem. It's... And this is... Okay. So a lot of people want or demand that exhaustion should be, like, totally changed or removed from the game. And I like what exhaustion represents. And, like, the fact that there are stages to it. And honestly, like, one level of exhaustion doesn't really hinder you at all. Even the second level, you could argue, is mostly fine. Like, disadvantage on ability checks and then, level 2 speed halved. Like, that's fine. But the thing is, if you get to 3, disadvantage on attack rolls and saving throws, then you just, once you're there, you automatically fail anything that would push you towards more exhaustion, right? Because you're rolling a disadvantage on everything. I don't think it's inherently broken or whatever, but I think the problem is we have a lot of home brewers or like third-party publishers who are like, every time this monster hits you, you get a level of exhaustion, or like any other effects that like would give you more than one level of exhaustion on the same round of combat. Like that should be a no-fly. That's just poor design, because the death spiral is too fast if you're whipping out exhaustion like that.
Well, I also think like 5 to 6. What's the point?
Yeah,
you already so 4. You just on the chance that you do not know. After 3, 4 hit point maximum half, 5 speed reduced to 0, 6 death. And like for me, what's 5 and 6? Like, how am I getting exhausted? First off, right. I'm really interested. Yeah. Who's is it your is Tank throwing me around? Is this why I'm still exhausted?
Is this why this is happening? But yeah, well, it should be something like, if it's used correctly, it's mostly going to be an environmental thing. So it'll tie into exploration pillars, right? Like forced marches, or like, I'm climbing through a volcano and the heat is like wearing you down over time. That's what it's really meant for. But because 5e kind of like said, gave the middle finger to exploration as a pillar, exhaustion hasn't had as much impact as it would have in games that, in previous editions, that emphasized, hex crawls and like environmental exploration and dungeon crawls. So it feels really weird right now in 5e to players who have never played any other edition.
I guess we don't need to try and tackle fixing it right here, right now, but you should. We should
at some point, thinking about it. Tales of the Valiant, we're thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, because the spiral, to be hit and take exhaustion just doesn't seem right. To have a battle and roll to see if I am exhausted after that battle, I'm okay. I'm okay with that idea. Or if it's a full day's worth of combat. But at the same time, I then have to make sure they're not going to rest, because then what's the point? Because then they're just going to rest through that. Yeah. That's a tough nut to crack, just because, like you said, the other thing that's hard is I don't think I would individualize it necessarily, especially if I'm really going to use it the way it's intended for exploration. Because the idea that, we all have those players, but let's just assume I don't have the players who are just like, no, I'm in it for me, screw everybody else.
Yep.
The idea would be that they're all working as a group, so then the check would be done as a group. That the person that could do that check better is going to do more to make sure that the group doesn't get exhausted. They're going to carry more. They're going to do more of the work. And so like collectively, if I were going to apply exhaustion, I would apply it to everybody in the group. And just let it be that. And
we just don't have good tools to be able to use it effectively right now.
Yeah. And I don't see myself ever going past 3 for any reason. Just because at that point, like I feel, because that's the other thing about this chart, is that at some point, either I'm going to feel like I'm mean, or I'm very hampered in the sense that, like, well, okay, so then what do I, like, without being a monster myself, what do I even put in front of these, in front of my group? I guess if I just had really wanted to use lower CR creatures, this is a solution to my problem.
Yeah.
Because you just have half your hit points and fail everything now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a really good one for number 1.
Okay, the important question.
Yes.
What is your number 1?
Okay, so my specific interaction with a condition that I think is the most annoying, the monk's ability to do Stunning Strike is the worst. It is the worst thing ever. The fact that a class has a class feature that allows them to just stun basically unlimited, because they get so many points. They have so many resources to be able to do this. It is the worst. Stunning Strike is awful. It's so awful. It shuts down fights. It makes everything unfun. Even monks who successfully do it all the time, I have to suspect it's unfun for you. Like, just to ruin fights all the time by stunning things. Ugh. You knew it. You knew I was going to say that.
From jump, yeah. And mine is the same. It's because it's not fun for both. It's just not fun for both because it boils down to a single roll and you're done. You're out. You're doing...
Yeah, because the target must succeed on a con save or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Any enemy, no matter the CR, no matter the hit points, no matter the AC, if it is stunned for an entire round, it is going to die if it has a whole party of adventurers sitting there dealing with it stunned. Like, it's over.
On the flip side is true. Like, my rogue was very disappointed. And again, I don't think... If I would have only had it for one round, which I didn't, you're in the heat of battle, heat of battle, and you don't think about it. And then, he was out for 3 rounds, and that was most of the fight. Yep. And it was disappointing, and I understand why. And so I'm not saying I'm not saying I would remove it. I just would change it on the fly. I know you would. Oh, you would. You've been hurt by it way more than I have. But I wouldn't. I just can't see myself going above 1 round.
No.
Without spending additional resources. Like if I go another round, it's because I actively did it. But again, as a class feature, that's not fair either. Because
it's
every single round.
Because everybody else, it's like, well, what's the point of fighting anything? Let's just have our monk go. Let's all wait for our monk go and do Stunning Strike on the big bad. Okay. As long as it's one of, 90% of the creatures that aren't immune to the stun condition, battle over.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and because even then you can, oh man, that group that really latches onto it, they could all hold an action where...
Just have the monk go, and the monk can run, 300 feet or whatever nonsense, so they just send the monk up, bam, done.
Well, and the other thing is even having the condition of my readied action be when the monk tries to stun.
Yeah.
Because then I'm going to ensure I still get my action even if the creature is not stunned. But if they are stunned, then we're good. And then this is my management style at work. And I guess this is my management style when I'm a DM. I only actually have one rule, and it's don't make me make rules.
Yeah.
Where it's in the scenario there, it's like, well, okay, everyone, listen, now I have to put special rules on what you can say about your held action because, and then that's not fun. I'm not going to enjoy making that rule. People are not going to enjoy, stunned, done.
Stunned, done. Stunning Strike, stunned, boo.
But if you like that and you wanted to tell us what is the most annoying episode we've done, head over to your podcatcher of choice and leave a rating and review. I'm not gonna lie, all of them help, even if they're bad. Don't leave a bad one just because. But if you do feel that way, I'm not gonna stop you. I have no way to do that.
Yeah, and of course, if you want to reach out to us via email, you can always do so at dmnastics@gmail.com. Make sure to follow us on Twitter at DMNastics, Neil at JoteManiac, and me at C. Konovich. And for everything else on the network, visit blockpartypodcastnetwork.com.
And a huge thank you to the bards over at Bombarded for our intro and outro, and you can check out more from them at bombardcast.com. But rather than let these mental gains go to waste, let's head to taking your supplements. Taking your supplements! Celeste, do you have anything going on lately?
do I? Yes, that I've maybe even mentioned in this episode a few times because it's my whole life. Yes, I do. So for those of you who don't know, I am the senior game designer at Kobold Press, which is one of the largest third-party publishers of Dungeons & Dragons like 5th edition over the past 5 or 6 years. And we have just recently launched a Kickstarter. It's running right now for the next like 13 days of a new game called Tales of the Valiant, which is a inspired, built on the foundation of D&D 5th edition, fully compatible with 5e, the products you already know and love. Tales of the Valiant is a new role-playing game that takes like all the stuff that was published in the SRD and Creative Commons and basically puts a Kobold Press spin on it. We're calling it sort of 5e with teeth. So if you are interested in picking up or backing a game that will keep all the good 5th edition alive with some new flavor, I highly recommend. Would love for you to check out Tales of the Valiant. Right now we're like so close to $1 million at this point, which is so exciting to see. And if you back the Kickstarter, you can get the Player's Guide and the Monster Vault are the 2 books that we are doing now. So that is all you will need to play the game. The Player's Guide is combining the best hits of the Dungeon Master's Guide and the PHB into one book that everybody can use. And we're doing a lot of fun stuff, cleaning up some of the issues that 5e so far has faced, introducing some new options, like we have a new base class going in there, the Mechanist, our 13th base class, and a lot of other really, really great stuff. So we would love if you would check it out. If you want to, just head over to talesofthevaliant.com. It's a great landing page that has details, how to get involved with playtesting, like design diaries about what this is, why we're doing it, and then of course also links to that Kickstarter.
Absolutely. And I would say this is a weird thing to think. I mean, for me personally, I would bet money for me that Monster Vault is going to be way more utilized than the Player's Guide, just because I have behind me every monster book that Kobold Press has ever put out. It's just it's a lot of things in ways that you didn't see them before, and in a positive way. And we've talked about it enough on the podcast that that everyone should know that that's my feeling, because my players are just old and have just been playing for so long, so I need new stuff. I need new stuff to make it interesting for me. In a lot of ways, it's the same conversation we just had about conditions. I need new things so that I'm not bored and I'm not boring them, because essentially I can only put the same monsters out so many times before it's not fun.
Yeah, and I mean, 5th edition, by all means, is I firmly believe it's, the greatest edition we've ever seen of D&D. But it has been out for, 5-6 years now, and there are some problems with it that, we're taking a swing at fixing and seeing, how can we make this game tighter? How can we make this game more fun? How can we make this game easier for Dungeon Masters?
I mean, I can ask questions that I know get asked. But Celeste, what will I do with all my 5th edition books?
It's so great. It's compatible. It's exactly compatible. We're doing so much work so that if you have a 5th edition, you love your fighter, your player loves their fighter, how it was built in 5e, they can play at the same table as a fighter made with Tales of the Valiant rules. There is no reason why these characters can't exist in the same space. And also you can run any module you have for 5th edition using the Tales of the Valiant rule set. It's all compatible. So we're not invalidating any single thing you have. It's all mix and match. So as intense as you want to get, like with using 5e stuff and Tales stuff, it's all good. So we're really, really working hard to make sure it's all backwards compatible, that we're not invalidating anything you've bought from Kobold Press or any other company for 5th edition.
Let's preface everything I'm saying is completely satire. Please, I hope no one is offended, because this next one is, I'm going to say it. So it is. But Celeste, I've set all those books on fire because I hate them. What adventures will I run now?
Oh boy, well, I mean, Tales of the Valiant, we're also publishing a bunch of adventures. Like, we've smashed already through a ton of stretch goals there that, like, we're going to be publishing TOV specific adventures are going to start coming out. We're doing live playtests at Gen Con this year, so obviously we're going to have pre-gens, we're going to have some new shiny adventures for you all to check out, and of course, if you want any adventures from the Kobold Press catalog from 5e are compatible. They're all fair games, so hundreds of warlocks, like, Tales of the Old Margrave, Book of, Ebb and Tides, all of that content we've published and have been famous for publishing, with quality and love, are still available for you. So even if you don't want to support, big companies, you can still find lots to do with Kobold Press and other third-party publishers.
I'll also preface, I feel like someone's going to listen to this and think that it was scripted. It's very not.
It's not.
Behind the veil, you would be surprised how unscripted all of this may be. But yeah, show notes per usual, but at the same time, Tales of the Valiant, if you put it into your search engine of choice, if you choose to ask Jeeves. Dog pile. It's the one where the dog would dig and find while it was searching. This is very early internet.
What?
I apologize.
I don't think I even saw that. Hear this. I remember Ask Jeeves, but
yeah. So Ask Jeeves. So around the same time as Ask Jeeves, there's one called Dog Pile, and the search animation was a dog digging into a hole while it was searching for your results. So yes, if you put Tales of the Valiant into whatever search engine you have, it will undoubtedly come up, and then push it past 1 million, because as far as I can tell, that's the last stretch goal.
Yep. Yes, at $1 million, we are going to be doing a beautiful 4-panel GM screen added to all the slipcase borders. So this is going to be one of those, just the gorgeous, really, we have so much great art for this, and oh man, I really hope we hit it. I want that screen so bad.
Yeah. So, and again, I am always comfortable, if anything, as two people that have ran a Kickstarter, and Celeste having been a part of many, having a threshold by which you will not add more stretch goals is always a positive sign for me personally. Just because it feels like that the people kind of know that anything past that may be untenable. And under promise, over deliver. So yes, check it out. Show notes, all those things. But with that, we'll turn out the lights and head out of the gym. But before we go, I want to implore you, the listener, to find us. Go. The Twitter, the Discord. There should be a link to that in the show notes as well. I actually made a link that actually works because Discord is weird and those invite links break constantly. Mm-hmm. So I fixed it. And anywhere else that you can find us to join in the exercises and conversations being had.
To do that, head over to dungeonmasterblock.freeforums.net and try some DM-Nastics so your players don't ask, do you even live?